Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Fridays with Havle. My name is Dr. Bhavya Sehgal. I'm an alumni MLT MHI batch 2014. So today I'll be speaking on the topic guidelines for beginner homeopathic clinicians. So why this topic is the question, and how did I come up with all these guidelines? Okay, so how did I come up is because when I was about to open my own clinic, I came across a lot of challenges, and there were a lot of trials and errors. So based on that, I realized that there should be, somebody should be talking about it. So that is why this topic. All right. So about why this topic. My journey began in January 2018, and honestly, I had very little homework done before. So there was just this realization that I want to experience having my own private practice. And I did not really give it much of a thought that what kind of a practice I want and all those things that now I feel is very necessary that one should be planning beforehand. So with very little homework done, what exactly happened? First, like my 5 months, initial 5 months were wasted in just zeroing on the locality wherein I wanted to open my own clinic. And but I think luckily the thing is that my registration came in really quick, but my clinic registration took its own sweet time. And one what I consider a little stupid mistake which I did was I actually went to the supplier of the medicines, which is like 15 kilometers away from my place, and I made like 2 journeys there. And but now I know that there are easier ways of doing this, ordering the medicine and getting those. In those circumstances, what really helped first was my parents' links, which helped because when I had to get my customized stationaries and flex boards and business cards and everything, so their link really helped, and I got all those things, quite quick and up to my expectations and satisfaction. And very importantly, my tenure during MLD MHI, those 3 years of MD, it has taught me so many things, and one of those things was networking. Like I would like to call it networking because I was always hesitant to approach people, who can help me in a certain during a certain crisis or when I'm facing a problem. So that particular thing, like that networking thing, I learned in MLT MHI, and during the course of this presentation only, you will learn that how it helped me further. When you decide to run your own practice, you have this, you may come across this feeling of isolation, like you've become an island, and that you are just cut off from the rest of the professional world. So how to avoid that? Well, luckily I am attached with my alma mater, and so I'm getting all these opportunities, but you can always associate yourself with some educational institute along with your private practice. Okay, so we will directly come to the guidelines now. As I said, these are all based on my practical experiences which I had while I was opening my own clinic. So the first and the foremost thing is whether or not you are ready. You really need to know this before you start doing anything. All right, so you need to have this realization whether you are ready to become your own boss or not. If you're lucky and you get to know that you are not ready, then you can opt for a job. You can become a faculty somewhere, you like teaching and everything, or you can join as a resident in some hospital or anything, or you can join the research programs in CCRH or various other government opportunities you can avail. But if you are dicey, if you are not really, if you're confused whether you're ready or not, you can always talk to your peer group, or you can talk to your teaching faculties, when you are still studying. That is when you usually make that decision. Okay, so the second point will be check your financials. Yeah, this is important, I know, because see, when you are about to open your own clinic, you definitely have to invest some amount of money into that, because you need to renovate the place you have hired or purchased or whatever. You need to buy furniture, and there are all sorts of financial, expenditures which are going to come up. So you have to make sure that you are ready. Either you have your own savings from your job or something, or you have a financial backing. Okay, so this is another very important point. What kind of a practice you want to set up? Yes. Uh, as we all know, if you are a homeopathic MD graduate, so you know that we have clinical branches as well as homeopathic subjects in which we specialize. So if you are a graduate in any of the clinical branch, then I would suggest you to stick to that branch and become a specialist in your field. Why? Because firstly, that is the trend which is going on. And secondly, when you are practicing as a specialist, it adds to your credibility as a physician. Okay. So you also have to make this decision really quick, and you have to make it, you better make it during your, while you're still studying and you have 1 or 2 years at hand, because during your graduation also, you can concentrate on certain things which will help you during your clinical practice. Okay, so how to zero in on the area? Well, I just put in that point because, as I told you earlier, I spent literally 5 months searching for the place. So how do you come up with that? Okay, so first you have to decide what kind of a practice you want. If you are, see, legally speaking, it's a commercial setup because you're paying rents, you are, the electricity and everything. You're doing everything which comes under the domain of the commercial setup. Okay, so all your expenditures will be like that. So if you're looking for profit, you have to focus on that kind of a locality. If you are looking for a charitable work, then you have to go to that specific locality which actually needs charity. And thirdly, when I was like, confused about the area where I had to zero in, so I went through a lot of blogs and stuff online, and I came across one very important point. How many doctors should there be in the area which you are zeroing in? So the first place which I was like almost about to finalize, it was like saturated with doctors. There were around, I think, 15, 20 or even more doctors around, and I was not very comfortable with the idea of having so many doctors around. So that is why I went through all those blogs, and in one of the blogs I found this point that though it shouldn't be like deprived of doctors, there should be some medical people around, but it shouldn't be more than 7 to 8. That was the number which was mentioned in that blog. So yeah, if there is this amount of doctors there, then you people can have a community like that, or you can send your patients for reference if the need occurs. So that way, it will be like you'll feel more comfortable, and it's more practical that way. Okay, so government protocols. Yes, I know many of us don't really pay heed to all those things, but when I was getting myself registered in my particular state, my hometown, and when I had to register my own clinic, at that time I realized that I should be more, I should familiarize myself with all the government protocols, because I didn't know that we have to register our own clinic also. That I was told by somebody else. So I was like that we should be aware of all these things. So where exactly should you be going to, get these sort of knowledge? Firstly, registration of self and clinic. For that, you have to understand the Clinical Establishment Act, and this act varies state-wise in India. Secondly, you should always visit the Ayush Ministry of Ayush's website, and under that there is a heading Acts, Rules and Regulations with a subheading Professional Conduct, Etiquettes and Code of Ethics Regulation 1982. Please go through that. That will guide you how you should conduct yourself as a physician, what all protocols you need to follow, and all other things. Even it talks about the publicity, how you should advertise your clinic, or whether or not you should advertise your clinic. Okay, so how to decide the consultation fee? Well, I wasn't that confused about this, but like 2, 3 of my friends who were opening clinic after me, they asked me that how did you decide? How did you decide on the consultation fee and everything? How much is too much, and how less is going to be too less? According to your credibility, it should be decided and stuff like that. So I said no, because you have to focus more on the mindset of the locality where you are opening your clinic in. So for that, again, networking is important. When you have decided the locality, your renovation and everything is going on, at that particular time, you should make out some time and visit the doctors who are there in your vicinity. No matter what kind of doctors they are, just go and talk to them, have a small talk, and everyone has some really important tips to offer. And during that time itself, I saw some doctors have like this notice on their clinic mentioning their consultation fees and everything. So that's how I came to know, okay, in this particular locality, this amount is feasible. People come with this sort of mindset that, okay, this much amount they can spend on a doctor's consultation. Okay, so stationery and flex board. This is again very important because your flex board, the main board which you're going to put up outside your clinic, is going to attract the patient base. So how it should look, what it should be like, and all that. So firstly, like what my graphic designer told me, blue is the color which mostly commercially which is used, like by professionals specifically. So you can opt for that color in with combination with the dark pink or maybe red or something. But that is not very important. The most important part is whom do you want or what do you want to brand as, your clinic's name or your own name. Because I've seen some doctors go reading Dr. Bhavya's homeopathic clinic and, like that. So if you want to do that, fine with me, no issues. But if you name your clinic, it is going to be easier in the future if you are like futuristic and you are ambitious and you may venture into a polyclinic setup. At that time, at that stage, the name of your clinic is going to be your brand. So that should be the most highlighted part in your flex board. Second highlighted part should be your name, your qualifications, your registration number, and your specialty. And the lower third or lower half of your board, you can devote to your contact details, your mobile numbers, your email IDs, and the address in full. Okay. Then we come to the business cards. This is also one of your stationery part itself. So my personal, I've given up two samples here. I've put up two samples, and my personal favorite is the one in the yellow and gray one, one on the top, because I like it better because the logo and the design part is taking too much of the space, and the rest of the space is free for the important information that a business card contains. See that the name of the clinic, the Natural Choice Medical Center, it is there quite, prominent. You can easily see that. Then the name of the doctor is also very prominently put up, and the lower half of it is divided into two columns, and all the contact information is there. So I think this card is like, in my eyes, it's a better choice. But yeah, you can opt for any other card that you like, but make sure the important things are highlighted in that. About the letterheads, again, I would recommend the second one, because as homeopaths, we require a lot of paper, a lot of space to write all the symptoms in detail. So the second one is taking up less space and giving you more, the printed part is less. So yeah, you can do that with your letterheads also. Apart from all those things, what all preparations you need for your clinic, I think you should firstly start with making a list. Yes, a checklist is most important. When you are renovating it, what sorts of light arrangement you need, what all furniture you need, where you'll put up the medical supplies, and what medicines do you need. Do you have a list of of those medicines or not? Dispensing material, what all dispensing material you will be requiring, where you will be getting it from. So, and for publicity, what all you should be doing. So you better make a list, a thorough list, and go through that list time to time so that you don't miss out on anything. So those were all the points which you will be needing while opening the clinic or before opening the clinic. So what will come next? Once your clinic is open, you've started, sitting there and waiting for the patient. So what all needs to be done? Okay, so once you start getting patients, there are going to be challenges. Few challenges, you may face those, and how you go about doing, facing those. Okay, so the first part is, first I want you to understand that when you are running your own clinic, you are not just the consultant there, you're also the manager of the clinic, because all those manageable parts, they like grooming, mopping, who is going to do the dusting, who is going to water the plants, who is going to maintain the medicine record, who is going to pay the bills and all those things, who is going to do all that. So you are managing all that. Even if you hire helps, still you have to manage all those helps. So you have to keep in mind that this is also part of your job when you are opening your clinic. Then there's going to be difficult patients. Yes, there are going to be a few non-paying ones. like it's not like they don't want to pay, but they are a little absent-minded. Or then, like for example, I get a lot of college students. They come, they just sit, and they are very casual about it. They're chatting, and they're getting the medicine, and they just get up and they get going. So they just totally forget, in the flow they forget. So what to do in that case? What I usually do is I either crack a joke, or I make a comment which make them laugh, and they don't feel embarrassed, or they don't feel stupid for not paying and everything. So you can do that also. And then there can be some male patients with asking some uncomfortable questions. So how to go about that? Well, I took my teacher's advice on that. And the best thing is to either you tell them that you're not an expert on such kind of complaints, so they can go to another doctor or a male doctor. Or you can talk them out of it, or whatever way you feel comfortable, because what I just said is what I opted for, and it worked for me. Okay, finding a dispenser is again a challenge, because if even if you get one, you may not get somebody who's trained for the particular job. So you will have to be very, very patient with the person, so untrained that they don't even know what a half drum or a full drum or 2 drums is. So in that case, you have to teach them, you have to teach the skill, and you have to be really patient with them. So if you get somebody who's trained enough, it's your luck. Okay, so next is, yes, definitely when you're opening your own clinic and you're sitting there, you have opened your clinic. So you need all these pointers to keep up with the changing times, because you can't just be another of those sloppy homeopaths, sitting and not aware of what is happening in the world. So to increase the credibility, NABH accreditation is one thing that I came across. I learned during one of the presentations in MLD MHI. So yeah, this is the next thing, which is going to be like, I don't know, the next trend or what, but it may become a norm. We don't know. So you can go through this link that I've given in the presentation, and you can go through all the details. And second is understanding the biomedical waste management. Yes, because there, especially now during the corona times, you need to be aware of this, and you need to know how you're going to dispose of all that bio waste. Okay, so please go through this BMW Management and Handling Rules 1998. You'll find the PDF online. Just download it and go through that. And then again, during corona times itself, we are going through like patients are more comfortable contacting the doctors through telephone. So how to practice that telemedicine? For that, there are set of protocols and guidelines given by the Ministry of Ayush. So please go through the website. I've given the link. There is also again a PDF available. You can download and go through that PDF. Okay, social media usage. This is another thing I learned during my last alumni meet. So yeah, definitely, because if you are present, you are available, you are there. So definitely you are easily approachable if you are present, through the social media. This is what the world has become now. So you have to be there, available there, so that people find you more approachable. That way you will get a more customer base, more patient base. And yeah, it's easier that way. You're connected with your patients, right? In a better way. Keeping up to date through seminars, webinars, symposiums, yeah, or attaching yourself with some educational institute. Why this is important? I know many of us don't do this, or many of us may find it a time waste, but you have to start participating in all these things, because this may become the norm, for your registration renewal in a few years or in the years to come. So please do that. Please just attend webinars, attend the symposiums, do something. Keep on adding to your knowledge. Don't just sit there and become an island, okay? Second thing is establishing a polyclinic with like-minded specialists. Yes, this is one idea which was given to me by one of the consultants, one of my teachers at MLD MHI. And one of our chapters, like Kolhapur chapter from the alumni part section, they are practicing this thing. So you can go through the website and get to know more about those people and what they are doing in Kolhapur. They have set up a polyclinic setup where various homeopaths with the specialization, they have come up, they have opened a center, and you can find a lot of specialists under one roof, which is more convenient for the patients. So yes, you can have your eye on that. You can plan such a thing for future. Okay, so I think I'm done, but in a nutshell, I would like to revise what all points are important. First is make sure you're ready mentally as well as financially. Practice your specialty branch. I told you why. Do your homework diligently before venturing into your clinic thing. Make a checklist to avoid any last minute hassles. And please acquaint yourself with the government protocols so that you're not confused. Start looking for hired help during the renovation time itself. Networking is important in person as well as through social media, and constant education of self through different mediums. Please do that. Thank you for listening to me. And if you feel that there are some important points which are lacking in this presentation, or there is some more learning we can do through your experience as a clinician, please feel free to, share your points or share whatever it is that you want to share in the comment section, or you can directly contact me on my email ID. And please like and subscribe the video. Thank you.